Hello everybody, my name is GamesBrained, and it's time to finally finish off my Hyrule Warriors content with a list of the top 10 worst characters in the game. As the word worst tends to trigger a lot of people, I should probably mention that I don't hate any of the weapons on this list, and as I have said on multiple occasions, I actually enjoy my time with each weapon in this entire game. Still, whenever it comes time to compare two things, you have to be honest about it, and the honest truth is that when compared to everything else this game has to offer, the following 10 weapons or characters fall short for a number of reasons. A quick spoiler alert, however, Agatha is not on this list. She's not that bad, you guys. Here's a video of me playing her with my feet and kicking ass with her in order to prove that. So let's not dally any longer and get right into it with number 10. Oh, Tetra. She really had so much potential, but the flaw that puts her into this list is her extremely poor range. In execution, I don't actually mind how she plays, and I like how she incorporates pistol shots into her attacks, and I think that her heavy attack stun trap is actually kind of interesting. However, with only one decent area attack and a lack of range on everything else, it only makes her good at one thing, and that is fighting one-on-one in extremely close quarters. She might be a good duelist, but even the next best duelist up, who I would argue would be Impa's Giant Blade, brings a whole lot more to the table. Still, 10th from the bottom isn't too bad, and while some would probably argue that Tetra should be lower, I think she's good enough at her one job in order to keep this place. Number 9. I honestly really like Wizrow. I like the idea of setting up traps and decimating armies with one good move. However, I don't think that it fits very well into this game. Wizrow is an interesting character with an underwhelming moveset, who inexplicably has one of the best boss killers in the entire game with this area ball attack. He does only okay at either one-on-ones or area damage, but without really excelling at either, he's mostly just ineffective at both tasks. Even though I find him less than ideal in most situations, the sheer fact that he can shred weak points with ease does give him an edge in some fights with a lot of bosses, which does lift him higher than where he would be otherwise. Number 8. Even though I'm including Fi as my number 8 in this top 10 worst characters list, if you have been following me for a while, you might understand that I am being considerably softer on her than I was in the past. Yes, it's true, in my guide for Fi last year, I somewhat hastily called her the worst character in the game. Since that time, I have come to acknowledge that though she has a bad standard attack with very little stopping power, on top of a heavy attack mechanic that slows her down and doesn't last nearly long enough to be worth it, she does have a number of good combos that help to balance her out. She may only be good at shredding through groups of enemies who all have very low health, but that at least does make her good at something. So I'm happy to place her in the upper portion of this unfortunate group. Number 7. Along with Ganondorf's blades, Darunia is the slowest character in the game. However, unlike Ganondorf, Darunia's kit doesn't even come close to making up for it. Lacking a reliable juggle, boss killer, and area damager, Darunia can get the job done eventually, but he does so without ever really being excellent at it. He can't nimbly weave into proper situations, or exploit enemies so well that they can do very little to fight back. All he really does is just try to smash, and do some rolling. Unfortunately, he doesn't really have any specialty where he can excel, but the mere lack of greatness in any one area isn't really enough to sink him any lower, and so he sits at number 7. Number 6. Link's Great Fairy is an interesting idea for a moveset that in practice is just not worth it most of the time. The Great Fairy has a lot of area damage and perhaps the most range of any character, but in order to get the most out of her, you need to sit through some of the slowest animations in the game. Sure, it's great that she's invulnerable during her combos, but unless you started them in a perfect spot, you may just see her playing around with Link whilst hitting nothing an endless number of times per battle. Still, this on its own isn't enough to tank her down to the spot, and the detail that does do it is her increased damage taken. She is the largest target for any standard character in the game, and it isn't difficult to suffer massive damage quite suddenly simply going through your standard attack string. I'll admit that she's fun to play from time to time, but she isn't practical, even in her one specialty. Number 5. Considering his reputation, it's a bit of a miracle that Tingle actually made it this high. He is a bit of a joke character in this game, but that doesn't make him that bad, to be honest. Many of his combos allow him to bounce around untouchable while he does what he can do, and his final combo, which I forgot to mention during my guide can sometimes throw out rupees, is an outright great attack. He does still have an extremely bad standard attack string, and a just about completely useless heavy attack, but I wouldn't really call him terrible overall. The following 4 characters after him, however, are truly at another level of badness, and earn quite a bit of disrespect for holding the unenviable title of being an actual serious warrior who is still somehow worse than this walking, talking, Hulu limpying joke character of the game. Number 4. Ruto, much like Darunia, is surprisingly slow, but the thing that pushes this Sage of Water into the bottom tier are her truly terrible combos and standard attack string. Suffering from either terrible hitboxing, extreme vulnerability, or both, everything she does is just less than ideal. And the fact that this is all backed up with a heavy attack stance that is easy for enemies to just simply block, whilst also leaving her extremely vulnerable when either getting into or out of it, you can start to see what I mean when I say that these lowest rung characters are aggressively bad. The only thing that keeps Ruto out of the bottom 3 is that there are times where her sniping can be useful, which gives her just one use, unlike the Triforce of Trash we're about to get to. Number 3. So, what do you call a weapon with only one good attack? Is it the Fire Rod or the Magic Rod? I'm actually not sure. As I alluded to, only the second combo of this weapon is even remotely useful, with everything else it does suffering due to the game's own mechanics. The most egregious problem here is probably the extended flamethrower attack, which is a true exercise in pointlessness. Any enemy able to be caught in this extendable attack will likely be dead before the second part even begins, and any enemy who won't be dead will simply just block through the rest of it and likely smack you around while you're locked in place, accomplishing absolutely nothing. And basically, that's what this weapon does if you're not using the second combo pretty much exclusively. It does nothing. Or, to put it more honestly, it accomplishes less than every other option in this game besides the final 2 worst. Number 2. What the hell were they thinking here? The way that the baton is designed actually makes me question if the people who made this playstyle even understood how to play this game. In practice, there is little use for a weapon with absolutely no movement when using it. Enemies which are hit by you are knocked back. About the only way to hit them with every strike in the same attack string is to literally back them into a corner. The fact that Zelda has actually good combos are like a little joke, because in order to get to them, you're going to have to be slashing the air pointlessly just to get far enough into your attack string to use them on what exactly? Anyone who could have been hit by them is either knocked back or dead. So her whole playstyle pretty much adds up to the question of what were they thinking? Please notice how I said that in theory, Zelda actually does have good combos with this weapon, and that can't be said for our last character to cover, and the one who holds the title of worst in the game. That honor goes to... Number 1. Lana's quote-unquote spear is a super interesting weapon. The Deku stick is a lesser spoken about but still unquestionably iconic part of the first 3D Zelda, and having a playstyle built around it and all things Deku culture could have been very interesting. So what the hell happened? About the only good thing that can be said for this weapon is that at least Lana moves while swinging it, albeit while swinging it in the erratic and mostly useless way that she does. The first combo sucks, the second combo is less bad, but still lags behind others if we're being honest. The third combo blows, the fourth combo is about on par with her second, and her fifth combo incorporates the worst part of her heavy attack mechanic, which is random and terrible hitboxes. Whenever I play as Lana with her spear, I'm constantly asking myself questions like, why couldn't I follow up on that weak point with just my standard attacks? Why are her air attacks so narrow? Why doesn't she have any true area attacks? Why is anytime she summons in the baby Deku Tree so useless? And lastly, and most importantly, why am I not just playing as literally any other character in this game? Sadly, there are not any good answers to any of those questions, and I am certain in saying that, unfortunately, bae as she is, Lana's spear is the absolute worst weapon in this game. And so there you have it, everybody, my list of the top 10 worst characters in Hyrule Warriors. Top 10 worst of anything lists on the internet always lead to a lot of emotions, so I'd just like to restate that I don't actually hate any of the characters mentioned, and even if you strongly disagree with me on any of the above, that doesn't mean that I think you are wrong for enjoying these characters. So if we're all calm and rational, why not let me know who your top 10 worst characters are, and why in the comments below. Before I go today though, here's a little bonus top 10 list to end things with a little bit more positivity, and that's going to be my top 10 favorite characters to play in this game, regardless of effectiveness. Here we go. Number 10, Agatha. Number 9, Marin. Number 8, Sia. Number 7, Skull Kid. Number 6, Zant. Number 5, Lana's Magic Tome. Number 4, Twilight Midna. Number 3, Toon Link's Sand Wand. Number 2, Ganondorf. And my absolute favorite weapon to use in this game is number 1, Linkle with her crossbows. Why not let me know your top 10 favorites to use as well, and maybe together we can help to reduce the negativity in this comment section. So I don't really think that I have anything left that I want to cover in Hyrule Warriors from here on out, folks. This video is coming out shortly before I begin my adventures with Fire Emblem Warriors, so I look forward to moving on to there. And perhaps in the future, I could be back to talk about Hyrule Warriors 2 if it ever gets announced or is ever actually happening. Until next time, everybody, this has been GamesBrained. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you take care.